This week on FTRTV, we're going to rock this tank. G'day everyone, my name is David Mai and welcome to episode number 2 of First Time Reefer TV. This week we're going to talk about all the different types of rock that are available in the hobby and what I've decided to go with today. So essentially there's 3 breakdowns of rock that you can choose for your tank. So the first one is live rock, which is live rock, rock that's been cultured straight from our seas and our oceans. Comes with a lot of life on it. Critters, some are desirable, some are undesirable, but most importantly it has all that beneficial bacteria already housed inside the rock, hence why it's called live. Now the beneficial bacteria is something that helps you break down all the toxic waste from your fish and leftover food that's in your tank. That's what we refer to as the nitrogen cycle. So breaking down your ammonia to nitrite over to nitrate. The fastest way to set up your tank is to use live rock because it's already got that cultured bacteria inside the rock. But it comes with a lot of really cool things like algae on there that are actually good for your tank. And a lot of life that's already on there, which you put it in and it's instantaneous, looks alive, and it's ready to go in your tank and it looks amazing. The downside to that is there are some undesirables, such as mantis shrimp and some crabs and algae that aren't good for your tank. Which is the downfall of that. So essentially live rock is the fastest way to set up your tank and for your tank to already look established. The second rock available is just dry rock. Dry rock being live rock that's just been left out to dry, or a calcium carbonate based mined rock as well. The benefits of that is that you don't get the undesirables or the algae that you have associated with your live rock, so you essentially start with a really clean slate. You've got a lot of time to be able to play around with the scape that you want in your tank and how you want your rocks panned out, and you can drill and glue and make sure that your scape that's laid out in your tank is what you're already happy with. The flip side to that is you don't have the beneficial bacteria already housed in the rock, so your cycling and setup process is a lot longer, but these days there are a lot of bacterial additives that you can use, which we'll go through later in this series, that speed up your cycling process and help the rock house the beneficial bacteria in the fastest way than it would be just by running the tank. Generally, dry rock is cheaper than live rock, but live rock you can buy already cured as well in aquarium, so it's ready to go. But dry rock, you have that extra bit of time. The third rock available is probably what I'm most excited about, is a man-made rock, mainly being a calcium carbonate-based rock that is painted in a purple color, just to give it that coralline algae look. Now, the benefits of this is it's a man-made rock, so it's sustainable. 2, it's painted purple, so the texture of the rock is different, and obviously the color is different, so you get that established look straight away. And thirdly, you get the benefits of not having any critters in your tank, but your rockscape already looking established, which I think definitely ticks all the boxes. So from my research, my understanding is generally new people start out going with the live rock because you don't have the patience to set up your tank and you want it up and running straight away. But then the seasoned reefers, after they've had to tear down a tank due to having algae outbreaks or undesirables or critters that you actually cannot get rid of out of your tank apart from tearing it down, have gone for the dry or the man-made rock. First of all, let me say my choice to go with the tank is definitely going to be the man-made rock, purely because it's ready to go, it's a man-made product, it's sustainable, and it's already painted a color that's going to look like it's established without having all the other nasties that come with live rock. So there's a significant price difference between real reef rock and the Carib Sea live rock. I firmly believe that there's a reason that there is a price difference between the two, but being a first-time reefer and trying to reef on a budget, I'm going to go with the Carib Sea Life Rock. Now, the Carib Sea Life Rock is a calcium carbonate-based rock that's mined apparently out in Florida. It's painted in a purpley and browny, greeny color to give it that natural-looking rock color, which I'll show you guys in a second. And it's also got a bacteria sprayed onto it that's a dormant bacteria that has a shelf life. And once that actually goes into your tank and hits the water, that bacteria comes back to life and apparently helps seed your bacteria in the tank. So I don't understand it completely too much. All the videos I've watched from Carib Sea themselves don't really explain it too much, but it's something that they say it's quite revolutionary. So it's going to be interesting to see how this cycles in my tank. And the real benefit that I like is because I come from a freshwater scaping background, I like to be able to spend a little bit of time laying out my rock work and making sure I'm happy with how it sits in the tank and making sure it's balanced and obviously structurally sound without any problems. But I get that time frame that I had in my freshwater days of being able to set the rock work how I like it. So spending a bit of time and making sure that it's the way that I like it to be, whereas you really wouldn't get that benefit with live rock, with the live rock, because you've got a short amount of time that the rock has to stay wet. So we'll jump over to the tank now. I will show you the rock that we're going to use, and we're going to do a scape. Alrighty guys, now we're back at the Cape 600. We're going to just talk a little bit about why we scape and how we scape. So why we scape, firstly it allows obviously the filtration of your tank because it houses all your beneficial bacteria. But it also provides hiding spots for your fish and your invertebrates and little caves and dwellings for them to chill out in. But more importantly, it also gives you a space or area to anchor your corals to. So you fix it to your rock and then it sticks to that and then it fills in your tank. So a tank without rock would look pretty boring, I would have to say. So obviously aesthetically pleasing. Now, most important things to think about when you're doing a scape is, one, to make sure you're happy with it. Two, that it seems balanced in your tank and it's not overcrowded. You're going to give yourself space to be able to fill it with corals unless you're going a fish only with live rock system. But also you want to make sure that there's enough flow going around your rocks to make sure that there's no dead spots in your tank and water movement is actually circulating all around your tank, so there's no build-up of detritus anywhere in your tank that could possibly lead to your water fouling. So we've gone with the Carib Sea Life Rock here. As you can see, that the rock is painted that purpley greenish brown color, so it does look quite natural. Like I said, it's got the bacteria on there as well, but once it's stacked in there, the rock actually looks really, really nice, which we'll see in a second. So I've sat down and I did a quick sketch, so I've got in my head roughly how I want the scape to look. So that always helps to be able to plan that, or if you're not one of those people that like to plan, just do whatever and make sure you're happy with it, right? But I like to plan. So I sat down, did a quick drawing of what I want to do and how I want it to look as a rough idea, and then at least that picture is always in your head and you're going to be able to spend a bit of time scaping and it looks all right. Sometimes it takes 5 minutes, sometimes it can take days, well and truly. So hopefully it doesn't take days today because you guys probably don't have enough time to sit there and watch me, but we'll see how it goes. So you've got to keep in mind that, you know, water flow is very important. Filling out your tank to make sure it's not too close to the edges of your tank so you can still get in there and clean and fishes aren't going to get stuck in there. There's all these things you have to keep in your head, especially when you're doing your drawings. Now to stick it all together, we're going to use this product from Cellies called Aqua Knead It. It's a 2-part adhesive. And you literally just work it out in your hands just to mix the two chemicals together, and then you've got a short time frame before it hardens. And it works really, really well. It's relatively inexpensive. It's got it from Bunnings for about 13 bucks. And it's easy in the tube, ready to go. So we'll start placing the rock in now, and we'll see how close we get to the picture that I've drawn. Now the thing with your rocks going into the tank is the parts that actually touch the bottom of the tank, you want that contact point to be as least as possible to ensure that you've got that flow around the rock. If I laid this rock down like this, you've got all the build-up that goes all around that area of the rocks there, which gives you a lot of area for detritus and crap just to build up. But if you just put it up like this, you've got to make sure it's quite structurally sound. But you can see the contact points are only here and over here, but the rest of it, there's actually quite a lot of area for it to free flow around. So that's definitely something you've got to keep in mind. Sometimes inevitable, but definitely something to keep in mind. It's pretty important to always make sure you're just stepping back a little bit just to have a look when you place your rocks and to make sure that it's sitting in the space that you want it to. So even with here, you can see there's a lot of flow through in this area here, and the contact point is only sort of down that area there. So you've still got a lot of that free flowing. You're far enough away from the edge to be cleaning, but then you can always fix that up a little bit later once you've got all your rocks in there and you're happy with your Scape. So that's looking pretty good for me at the moment. As you can see, our rock work is all finished and laid out. We've got to look at joining together all the rock using the Selleys Aquaneator, just to make sure that the rocks aren't going to move once it's full of water with the flow going around it, and to make sure that the fish can't knock them and it crushes things, or when you're placing corals and it gets knocked out of the way. So you've got to make sure that it's completely structurally sound, just to avoid any issues. So this is where we're going to bring in the Selleys Aquaneator. So as you can see here, it's two-part like that. So it's got the inner adhesive on the outside, the chemical on the outside. So you literally just work this in your fingers like that, and it just mixes the two chemicals, which makes it begin to set. Then you've got a short amount of time before you to get it into place. So you just make sure that all that green is gone, and then it becomes like a grey, just the filler colour. Then you know then that has all been worked through, and it becomes much softer once you've mixed it properly together, to be able to get it into all the little cracks and the crevices. As far as I understand, it doesn't matter that it's white and not the same colour as the rock, because eventually, one, you're going to cover your rocks with corals anyway, or two, the coralline algae is hopefully going to grow over and cover it. But you're not covering it in massive areas, so the joins and gaps aren't going to be huge spots of white, so you don't need to really worry about that. So as you can see now, that's all mixed in now. It's really pliable, and you've got a few minutes to start getting it all in. So we'll get it into the rocks now. So you can see now between this rock here and that rock there, there's a bit of a crevice where it joins together. So that's the perfect spot to use some of this filler in there. So you just pretty much just push it into place like that, and you just wrap it around, smooth it out a little bit, and just push it right in. So it's going to provide like a little seamless join for you. And the good thing about the rocks is you can like push it right into the little crevices in there. So once it hardens, it provides a really, really strong hold, and you know that the rock's not going to move. I think that's a very, very important thing, to make sure that the rock doesn't move, because the last thing you want is your structure to drop down and crush a fish or damage a coral or anything like that. And you know, if you've got some decent sized fish in your tank, obviously they've got a bit of power behind them to be able to knock things and move things around. So as you can see there, we've worked it right in. You just make sure you use your fingers just to push it right in. On this front section of rock here, we've got that join there between this rock and that rock. And you've got quite a nice gap in there. So same situation again, just work it into a little ball like that, and just work it into that gap. Just get your fingers, push it in there, make sure you get it into the nice joins of the rock there. The texture of the rock really helps to hold the filler in place and provide a really strong grip once it's done. Once it's dried, sorry, and cured. So we've got all the joins of the rocks covered now from sort of what I can see at the moment. So we're going to let this cure, we're going to let this dry, give it 24 hours, and then I'll come back and I'll give the rock work just a bit of a tap and a wobble to make sure everything's solid and secure. And then after that, our Scape is done. Alrighty guys, we've given this a day to cure just to make sure the adhesive joins are nice and dry and cured. So we can check the rock work now and give it a bit of a shake. And all of it's actually really, really solid. So you know that the joins have been done really well and you've added it to the right spots. And you know that it's not going to move anywhere. And I think that's really, really important. As I was just saying earlier, just to make sure that none of this can move anywhere. Because the last thing you want is your rock work moving around. So now that's done, our Scape is complete. That's finished. There's nothing else that I need to do to that except for just cleaning up some of this area here. And then we're ready to move on to the next stage. So if you guys are enjoying my videos, please hit the like button, comment, hit subscribe, join the channel so you don't forget to catch up with the rest of my videos. And I'm looking forward to the next video. So thanks for joining me guys. Next week we're going to start adding some flow to this tank. So you tell me how much flow you think this tank needs. Until next week, peace!